Okay. Well, thank you for joining us for the Towson University info session for the virtual college road trip. We are really excited to have Courtney Cox from Towson Admissions and McKenna Bates from Towson Hillel here to share with us about Towson University, the student and Jewish experience on campus. So I'm going to go right ahead and pass it along to Courtney to share with us a little bit more about Towson and the college search. So go for it, Courtney.
All right. Hey, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. So like she said, my name is Courtney. I am a proud TU alum. I actually loved Towson so much. I got 2 degrees from Towson, and I work in their admissions office. So that's a little bit about me. But I'm here today to tell you all about preparing for college. So I am going to touch on some tips and tricks to help you stay organized and researching your options. And then I'm going to also share information about Towson University so that if Towson's on your list, you know a little bit more about TU and what we have to offer. So starting off, what I usually encourage students to kind of organize their thoughts with is what are you looking for in a college? So this could be like your non-negotiable items, or just maybe you're trying to narrow down what are the important factors in a college that you're looking at. So it could be the type of college, whether you want to attend a 2-year institution, a 4-year institution. Do you want to go to a private university, a public university, in state or out of state, moving into location, or like one that's right down the road versus one that's like an hour away? So all of these things are important because it impacts the cost of whether or not you're living on campus, commuting, if it's in state, out of state, private, public, those all have different costs factored in. The size of the university can also make a difference in what you're looking for. If you want something that's a smaller class size, if you like large lecture halls, or you want like a big school feel with lots of school spirit, maybe you want to go someplace where you don't know anybody and you want to start off fresh, or you want to go someplace that maybe you'll recognize a face or two and have some familiar friends there. Programs of study, of course, is another important item that you want to research into. So whether you know what you want to study or not, that's totally okay. You might have a few subject areas in mind. So even if you're not really settled on a major, just kind of having an idea of what programs you might be interested in, and or what that looks like in the long run. Maybe you don't know what you want to study, but you might have a career in mind, or you might have some skills that you know you want to pick up, or that you know you need to perfect before you go out into the real world after you get your degree. Or maybe you're thinking of grad school options, post grad options, doctorate options, research options. So that's what you want to think about, of maybe not exactly the major you want if you're not sure, or maybe you do have that already settled. So that's just another thing to keep in mind. Academic support and resources, you want to look into what the universities have to support your success as you're studying. So that could be anything from tutoring to how does advising work, and what is the transition process to get you acclimated to campus as a new college student. And especially if you're coming from out of state, or coming from a different town or different area, you want to know what support is there and resources for me if I get homesick, or if I just need somebody to talk to, or need help with anything, and how safe is the campus and the surrounding area too. So that's again what you're looking for. So those are things you want to kind of detail down in a list. And then on the flip side of that, you then want to look into what is expected of you as the applicant. So what are the colleges going to then be examining in your applications? So I can tell you from our perspective, at least on the admissions side, we look at the type of application that you use. So some institutions might have different types of applications, and that could be for special programs or special majors that you're applying to, or it could just be a general application for university admission. Some examples of that could be like a university has their own application that you just go to their website, enter your information, and you apply that way. Others might use the common application. The coalition application is another option. And then you might have these specialty programs. So it could be like an honors college, which Towson has available in our application. There's also specialty programs by major. So depending on the school you apply to, you might have to submit an additional application for a particular program of study in addition to your university application. Then you also want to make sure you know the difference between early decision and early action. So you may have already heard those terms thrown around, but if you're not familiar with those, early decision is binding and early action is not binding. So I break that down even further as a quick way to help you remember that is early decision is like marriage. So if you're applying to a school, early decision, you're putting a ring on that school and you are telling them, I'm only interested in you. I'm not looking at anybody else. And if they accept you and they admit you, you have to withdraw your applications from everywhere else. So applying early decision to a school is essentially committing to that school. And then you're just hoping that they admit you. So you can still apply other places, but you don't want to apply early decision to multiple places. You should only have early decision for that one school that you really want to commit to. Early action is not binding. So I say that's like the dating option. So I know dating apps are really popular now on dating sites. So think of it that way. You apply to all these different schools, early action. So you're swiping right on those schools. If they swipe right back at you and it's a match and they admit you, you're matched. So you're admitted, but you have the final say on who you're committing to. So you can review the options, what they offer you, look at the finances, see what the perks are of dating that school, and then you can commit to them and say, this is the school I want to enroll with. And so there's not that binding kind of scary moment of like, oh no, I have to commit to this school. You can still have time to review those options. However, usually applying early decision or early action, either one, there's usually a benefit to it where you're showing that you're really interested in this school by applying early. So typically they have a scholarship offer that you could be eligible for. So it's definitely worth trying either early decision or early action, but just know the differences with those. Fee waivers are really great to take if you have them available. Most of your high school counselors should probably have a fee waiver that you can get when you apply to a school. There's a lot of need-based fee waivers through College Board, NACAC, and other organizations, whether they're locally or at your school. But some other common fee waivers that you can look into are like alumni fee waivers, for instance. So I have another bullet point on here is legacy. If you're the child, grandchild, or maybe siblings related to an alum of a school, most times you can put that on your application and that can give you a boost in your application review. Or you might get a fee waiver for knowing someone that graduated from the university. So Towson University has alumni fee waivers as an example. But there's also fee waivers for visiting schools. A lot of institutions will offer that. If you attend an open house or a tour, then you can apply for free that way. And you just show proof that you attended, or they check and make sure that you visited their school. So that's another one to look into as well. Every little bit counts because most fee amounts are like anywhere from, I've seen like as low as $25 to apply and as high as like $80 to apply to a school. So when you're applying to, on average, students apply to like 5 or 8 colleges, that adds up. So you want to save up everywhere you can. Looking at those major specific requirements, so back to like the type of application that you use, or if there's any additional prerequisites you need, or if you have to audition or submit a portfolio, or maybe even interview for a major, you just want to make sure you know what are all the requirements and things that you need before you go into that program. And then last thing, of course, you want to ask your college admissions counselors, what does an average accepted applicant look like? So if you're looking for the perfect way to start a conversation with an admissions representative, asking, first off, letting them know that you're interested is a great way to start. Just saying, hey, I'm interested in your school. Then you can add, can you tell me about your average accepted applicant? What are you all looking for in a student? So typically they'll tell you GPA, what test scores look like that they're looking for. And then they'll also tell you about like the student culture. What does the student body look like? What activities are students involved in? Are they looking for a well-rounded student, a student that's more focused in community or community service, giving back to the campus in that way? Someone who's maybe athletic or a leader, different traits. And so that will give you an idea too on whether or not that school is a good fit for you. So with all that information in mind, you might be thinking, how the heck am I going to stay organized with all of this? That's a lot of info to take in at once. So I have some tips here for you. One is to make sure you read everything that colleges send you, because we do try to tell you as much as we can about the school and keep you on track with what you have to send in for your applications and deadlines. So make sure you read everything, but also know it's okay to unsubscribe. If you unsubscribe, that's actually helpful for us so that we don't keep bothering you with emails, texts, and calling. And it's helpful for you. You can take out that the clutter and stop clogging up your own inbox with all these colleges emailing you. And I guarantee you, you're probably going to hear from colleges that you've never even heard of, or colleges that you don't even know how they got your information. And that's because colleges can purchase your information and contact you based on like PSAT results, or through, I think, other organizations like with your schools that you have like opted in without even maybe knowing that you've opted into giving your information to colleges that might be interested in you based on your involvement, your GPA, or your PSAT scores. So that's how a lot of colleges get your information. Another way to stay organized is creating a spreadsheet for yourself. So the factors that I just mentioned, and I'll go back to like these original slides here. So my first slide, the factors I mentioned of what you're looking for in a college, you can make that different columns in your spreadsheet. So you can say like type of college, in-state or out of state, and whatever your interests are, whatever your non-negotiables are. Like if you're like, I want a college that has a Hillel, put that on there. I want a college that has Greek life, put that as a column. Or I want a college that has Chick-fil-A on campus, which Towson has, by the way. You can put that as a column. Whatever's important to you, make those the columns. And then each row of your spreadsheet can be the names of the universities. And then you can always add things like deadlines. What are the majors that they offer? What kinds of scholarships do they have? Do they count legacy? What deadline or early action or early decision do they use? So that's how you can maintain a spreadsheet and follow along with what you have completed. I would even add, you can put a column on when you complete certain items. So for instance, if you know, I sent in all my application materials by November 1 for a deadline for a school, and then it's maybe like December or so and you haven't really heard anything back yet, that's where you can know, okay, when you talk to your admissions counselor, I sent all my stuff by this date. You have that all in your spreadsheet too. So just a tip to stay organized. You can also contact your admissions counselor basically at any time. You can contact them before you apply, after you apply, while you're applying. We're here to help you throughout the whole process. Another tip I have, this is more so for if you're a junior right now and you're finishing up your school year, right? So if you're a junior right now going into senior year, before you apply and start your applications, you want to secure who your letters of recommendation are coming from. You don't want to wait to the last minute for this, because you may have teachers or mentors or coaches that are getting asked by multiple students to be their recommenders. So I often recommend in end of junior year or over the summer, if you still have contact with your teachers, ask them and say, hey, do you mind being my recommender for when I apply later in the fall? That way you have them already agreeing to do it. And I would say maybe get 3 or 4, just in case any of them trickle off. You still have at least 2 that you can secure. And then when the fall comes, you circle back to them and say, hey, remember, we talked about being my recommender. Okay, well, I need my letter in about 2 or 3 weeks. Can you make sure that you have that complete for me? And that way they already had committed to it and they can help you with that. And then just as always, do not wait to the last minute when sending your materials, of course. It takes a lot of time to process different documents and things. So you want to make sure you submit your documents, transcripts, even your application if you want. I say about at least 2 weeks prior to the deadline. This earlier, the better, honestly. If you wait to the last minute, it's just more stress on you. And I would never want you all to go through that. But then if you're stressed, guess who else gets stressed? The admissions counselors, because then you're contacting us and you're stressing us out about why we don't have your documents, and we don't know because it just takes time to process or it hasn't arrived to us yet. So just make sure you submit everything early. So now I'll go into a little bit deeper about Towson. So you kind of have your ideas now of what you're looking for, what colleges expect of you. So here's some info about Towson to see if that fits what any of you all could be considering. So Towson is fairly medium to large size compared to schools nationally. I would say we're on the medium size end. Within the state of Maryland, we're one of the largest. We're the second largest in the state for public institutions, and we're the largest in the greater Baltimore region. So you can see that by the total students that we have and the total number of undergrad that we have is fairly large, but average class size usually ranges about 24 to 26 students in a classroom. So I'll be honest, when you take your first few semesters, you might have more like 30 or 40 students in a classroom, but that's typically because students take prerequisites or like general courses, which we call our core curriculum, in their earlier semesters. And so you're going to have more students in those classes because everyone needs those courses. But once you get further into your major, and especially those special topics courses, I mean, I had maybe 12 people in a class at some point when I got into my junior and senior years. So you definitely do get that personalized feel at TU. So I also highlighted here some of our top majors. So we have over 60 different programs to choose from, but these have been consistently our top programs or top majors for incoming freshmen over the last few years. So you'll see deciding is one of our top majors. So again, no shame if you don't know what you want to study. A lot of our students come in deciding still, and that's what our advisors help guide them with and help them decide what they want to focus on. So this shows you a bird's eye view of Towson. If you have not been to the TU area, Towson in general is a booming town. Up in this top right corner here, if you can see my mouse, that's the actual like city of Towson. So there's lots of businesses. That's also where the Baltimore County Courthouse is. That's where we have our mall, restaurants, and then you also see there's a lot of residential areas. So like where all these trees are and things, there's actual different neighborhoods nearby, whether it's apartments or actual homes that people live in. So Towson is right in the middle of this really active town. So we have really convenient location. We're more of like a suburban kind of vibe, but Baltimore City is like 15 to 20-minute drive from our campus. And if you're looking for like the urban atmosphere, it's just a stone throw away from our university and very close. If you're looking for more of like a natural rural kind of feel, that's also about 15, 20 minutes the opposite direction. So we're right smack dab in the middle. We're kind of like the Goldilocks school. We're just right, not too big, not too small, not too far, not too close. And we are also an open campus. So I mentioned safety as something that you want to look into. Towson is one of the safest schools in the university system of the state of Maryland. We have our own university police department, and we are an open community. So we don't have like any gates or close off any roads or anything. People can travel all throughout the campus. This is, again, a bird's eye view of just the main part of campus. There are some other areas not shown on here, but that just encourages you to come visit us and see the full landscape. So I mentioned earlier, we have over 60 different majors. If you want to browse through those programs, you can go to that link at the bottom, towson.edu/majors. But these are the colleges that house all of our majors. So Towson has business economics. We have College of Education if you want to be a teacher, which Towson is the leading institution of producing future teachers within the state of Maryland. We have Fine Arts and Communication. We are growing in the health professions as well, liberal arts, which is like more of our traditional programs of study. And then we have our College of Science and Mathematics too. So now moving on to student life, if you're interested in the athletic side of Towson, we are Division I. So whether you're a fan or you want to participate in those sports, we have 19 Division I teams, and you'll see the breakdown there of men's and women's sports. And then we also have more on the student development side. We have more than 250 different clubs and organizations, and those are the different categories that we break our clubs down into. So if you're looking to develop yourself in your career, you can maybe join one of our academic and professional clubs that we have. We also have clubs in the arts. We have multicultural clubs, Greek life, honors and recognition as well. So different honor societies. If you're already involved in those things at the high school level, you can continue that going into college. We also have a lot of religious and spiritual clubs and organizations. And then we have clubs that are specifically devoted to service and community service on or off campus as well. And then special interest clubs, that's pretty much like anything you can think of. So special interest could be like a few years back, we had, I think it was Pokemon Go was really popular, and we had Pokemon Go Club. They also had like a Quidditch club for students that are fans of Harry Potter as well. So special interest can really be anything you want. So if there's a club that we don't have, you can create your own club with about 5 or 6 students, and you could maybe do special interest or fall into another category. And then we have about 40 different club sports teams. So if you don't want to play at the Division 1 level, club teams do still get to travel and compete against other schools, but it's more like just for fun, though they are still very competitive because they do compete against other schools still. And then we also have intramural teams as well that you can participate on and play against other Towson students on campus. Now, something I don't have on this slide that I do want to mention is we do have a study abroad office on our campus. So study abroad is very popular with our students. And our study abroad staff, they help you plan those trips, whether you want to go abroad for a semester, a year. Some students even just go for like a week in spring break, or maybe a couple weeks in the mini-mester, just a few weeks in the summer even. So you have a lot of flexibility with our study abroad options. And our study abroad office also assists students with planning exchange program trips. So whether you want to do a foreign exchange program or a domestic exchange, they can help you plan that out, where you can do an exchange program going to like Florida, Hawaii for a semester, or any other state in the US. So it doesn't have to always be international study abroad. You could do study abroad within the US as well. So I wanted to also touch really quickly on advanced credits, because this is a question I get a lot when students come into TU especially, and this is something you can ask other colleges that you're looking at as well. How do they take advanced credits? What kinds of advanced credits do they accept? And that could be a really big decision or a big factor in what colleges you apply to. So Towson University specifically, we take advanced placement, we take international baccalaureate credits, and we also take dual or parallel enrollment credits. So the way that that works is if you have AP courses that you're taking in high school, Towson usually grants credit if you get a 4 or higher on the AP exam. And that credit could count for maybe one class. It could maybe count for 2 classes. So it just depends on what score you get. Some will accept a 3 or higher, but you want to aim for having a 4 or a 5. And that will probably be your best bet. We also have the IB credits. So if your school is an IB school, you may get just IB credits that are standard level or higher level courses. And so we will grant credit for that. So you'll come in with some college courses already accounted for, having that IB credit. And for the students who get the IB diploma when they graduate high school, you're guaranteed 30 credits coming into Towson. So you essentially have your whole freshman year already completed if you have that IB diploma. So that's a really major benefit. And Towson University is actually one of the few institutions across the country that offers that kind of credit for students with the IB diploma. And then last but not least, if you do have dual enrollment, which I know a lot of students do that with their local community colleges, you just send us your official transcript from the community college, and then we can evaluate that as transfer credit. But the big thing here is you're not a transfer student. For Towson specifically, you come in as a freshman with advanced credit. So that puts you at a higher standing than a lot of other incoming freshmen, and you still get the benefits of a freshman, such as guaranteed housing. Another benefit of having these advanced credits is you have a better chance of being able to bring your car to campus, where incoming freshmen who live on campus usually can't bring their cars. But you'll already have some credits under your belt, so you'll be closer to sophomore status, which will get you that advanced benefit. And then you also get priority registration for classes because you're further along than other of your peers. So that's just one little perk there of advanced credits. Now, if you are considering a transfer option, I would just advise talking to our transfer student center, because they can get you in touch with creating a transfer plan for coming to TU. If you know Towson is your goal eventually, but you want to start somewhere else first, they'll help you with navigating all of that. So now how you stand out with everything that I've told you, these items here on this slide are just ways to make your application different from other of your peers that are applying. So when you think about it, you could look exactly like another student with your GPA. Maybe if you send in test scores, which most schools are test optional now, Towson included. But if you do want to send in test scores, you could look exactly like another student there. Even the types of courses and involvements that you have, it could be similar. So your essay is really the one required piece of your application that allows you to stand out and show why you're unique and why you would be a great candidate for admission. So take time on your essays. Letters of recommendation also make a difference, of course, because it's someone else attesting to your character in and out of the classroom. Resumes show us what you're doing with your time. Interviews allow you to personally express your interest and show and highlight yourself to an admissions rep. Demonstrated interest is also something that some schools track and some schools don't, but demonstrated interest could be like what I mentioned before. If you visit a campus or go to an open house event, or even emailing your counselor, that's demonstrating your interest, and that could give you a boost in the application process. Auditions and portfolios, of course, with your talents, that can also help you stand out. And then sometimes your social media might help or it might harm your chances in the admissions process. So I always like to just mention social media could be a thing in the application process because some schools use it and some schools don't. Maybe the university doesn't use it, but maybe the department of a program you're interested in, or maybe the athletics uses it. A lot of our athletic coaches will look at their athletes' social media because they're representing the school out on the field and on TV if they have publicized games and things. So they always track social media of the athletes, especially. So just keep that in mind. You want to make sure you highlight your best self. And that's everything that I wanted to cover with you all. So if you have questions about TU, feel free to contact our main admissions email, which is admissions@towson.edu, or you can give us a call on our main phone line there on the screen. So thank you for your time. Thanks for listening. And I will now let McKenna take it away.
Amazing. Thank you so much. That's really awesome and really informative. So I'm McKenna. I am one of the staff members here at Towson Hillel, and I'm here to talk about Towson Hillel and being Jewish at Towson. So I think the question is, okay, I am a Jewish student, or I am a Jewish high school student, and I went to synagogue with my parents, but maybe being Jewish isn't the most, biggest priority for me. That is totally okay. Most Hillels, and Towson Hillel especially, aim to be very welcoming, pluralistic spaces. So whether or not you grew up modern Orthodox and going to a Jewish day school, whether you grew up completely secular and lighting Hanukkah candles every December or sometimes November, that is totally fine. Towson Hillel is your Jewish home away from home. So I think one of the questions is, how many Jewish students are at Towson? Well, we have been told by various surveys, and of course this is all somewhat approximate because Judaism is very much self-identification based, but roughly 10% of the student body here at Towson identifies as Jewish. So that's about 2,300 people. So that means more likely than not, you will not be the only Jewish student in your class, which is fantastic. It's something I didn't think that I really cared about when I was looking at colleges, and I ended up going to a school that did not have a large Jewish population, and it was something that I really missed out on. So here at Towson, we have a large, thriving Jewish community. And in fact, 90% of Towson Jewish alumni live within an hour radius of Baltimore upon graduation. So here at Towson Hillel, we do a lot to engage our alumni community as well as our current student community. We have Shabbats, we have Jewish Learning Fellowships, which is a 10-week, 10-session, hour-long session course on Jewish learning. We also now offer an Israel Learning Fellowship, which is something that I teach. And I think we're also offering a second round of the Jewish Learning Fellowship for graduates of the first cohort. But I've got a wonderful video from our student leaders from last year's student board to kind of share a little bit more about Towson Hillel and why it's important to them.
I've been involved with Towson Hillel for 20 years, and hanging out with the students challenges me, inspires me, and gives me hope for the future of our people.
Hillel is an amazing thing. It allows Jewish people on campus to form a community, to form real friendships.
I love Hillel because I've made some of my best friends there, and I feel like it's a place I can genuinely be myself.
It always gives me a place to go on campus, whether it's for studying or socializing. I always have somewhere to go, or even just to enjoy being Jewish.
There's a lot of great leadership, a lot of great student participation and activities to just, get involved with.
I love Hillel because it gives me a place to be able to celebrate Jewish holidays and connect with other Jewish students on campus. Being from a different state, it's really nice to have a good place to spend Shabbat with other students.
It is a one-stop shop for Jewish students on campus looking for a home base where they can spend Jewish holidays, have kosher meals, and really identify with their peers what it means to be Jewish.
Even though I wasn't involved with Towson Hillel as a student, I have a passion for alumni engagement, and that is something I continue to dedicate myself towards.
I definitely do want to thank Hillel and the Associated.
Thank you, Hillel and the Associated.
Thanks, Hillel and the Associated.
Thank you to Hillel and Associated for your support. See ya.
Amazing. It's really great to see everyone's smiling faces again. It's been a year. I think we've all been doing what we can virtually and in person. And I'll speak in a second about what we've been doing in the pandemic to help maintain students' Jewish connections. But it's so funny to see those faces a year ago, because our ritual chair is now our president and doing fantastic things. But before COVID, we actually had a program called our Homing Shabbat Innovator, which meant that if you and your friends in your dorm room or your social club, your fraternity, like AE Pi, SAE Pi, whatever, you wanted to host a Shabbat on your own, Towson Hillel would help fund you. We would help find you a kosher caterer. We would help pay for the food itself. We give you programs, wonderful things like that. And we actually were internationally recognized within Hillel International's movement at our recent Global Affairs Conference this past December for that Homing Shabbat Innovator program. But it was something that we kept on during the pandemic. So during the pandemic, we obviously couldn't meet in person for Shabbat dinners. It wasn't safe. So we had within your own pod another version of Homing Shabbat Innovator. We call it Shabbat Your Way. So if you and your roommates who you all live together wanted to have a Shabbat dinner, we would come in and help you do that. We also had a contactless Shabbat meal delivery program, which is how I met a lot of the fantastic students. And it's contactless. So I, a student leader or another staff member, would drive around if you were within a specific radius of the Towson area, and we would drop off a Shabbat meal and some candles and some grape juice and some really great Jewish programming right to your door. And you could say hi if you wanted to, but of course it was completely contactless. But we also had a matzo ball soup delivery program, which our assistant director, Jake Campbell, actually thought up on his own. And if you were feeling sick from potentially, unfortunately, having COVID or just a cold, or maybe you just felt under the weather, we would come give you matzo ball soup that Jake would make in our kosher kitchen. Really fantastic program, and I hope to see it continue as we continue to move on in person. But let's say that you are a Jewish student and you might not want to go to Shabbat dinner every night. Maybe you live within the radius of your family and you want to go spend time with them, but you still want to be involved in Hillel. That's totally fine. We have many students who are like that. So you can become a student leader, be on our student board. You can become one of our engagement interns. We have quite a few engagement interns. You can become involved in our Tigers for Israel Advocacy Club, and potentially go to APAC. We also have a really great organization called Challah for Hunger, where in the past, before the pandemic, students would get together and just bake loads of challah and then sell it on campus the next day and donate all of the money. And that is a program that we will be restarting very, very soon. We're very excited to do that. So there's a lot of different volunteer opportunities and things we can get you connected with, whether it is within Towson Hillel itself or like splinter clubs. other Jewish-oriented clubs on campus, or even synagogues around the Towson area, Jewish volunteer groups around the Towson area, all those fun things. But currently, so we talked about what we did before the pandemic, what we did during the pandemic, and then now. Now it is summer, but we are really excited to have such a really fun program-filled fall semester, including something I'm actually really excited about. We have a community garden. So we've paired with some of the gardening organizations at Towson University, and we have our own little urban farm, and it's huge. So we have community garden days where alumni, people from the general community, students, student leaders, staff members, including myself, will come and actually farm. And we've got rows of peppers, walking onions. I think there's some kind of berry bush that we're doing as well, mint, all of those fantastic things. And we're hoping to have a harvest at Shabbat come November. It's very exciting. And last but not least, we always have to mention Birthright. We are so excited that we are going on Birthright this August, and so excited to have a Birthright this winter as well. And that is taught by yours truly. Not taught by, led by yours truly. So we have a plethora of amazing things that I have sandwiched in and forgot to mention. But really the crux of it is that Towson Hillel really aims to be your Jewish home away from home. And we are we try to really be student empowering. So if there is some idea you have that we have not done, whether you are a prospective student or a current student or not, you can just come up to us, talk with us about it, and we can try and make it come to fruition. So yeah, if you are interested in learning more about Towson Hillel, you can visit us at towsonhillel.org, or you can email me at mckenna@towsonhillel.org. Thank you very much.
Amazing. Thank you, McKenna. That was fantastic. So much great information about what you guys have been doing for students, staying relevant and engaged with them during the pandemic, and really excited also for you guys to be back in the fall in person. So really great to hear. And Courtney, thank you for a really fantastic presentation with so much information also. So I hope people found this useful and informative, and I hope you're excited about Towson University. We will make sure to post both Courtney and McKenna's contact information so you can reach out to them if you have more questions. But I really just want to thank both of you for joining tonight and doing this virtual info session, and we hope that people find it very useful. We're about finished with our virtual college road trip. We have a few more days left, so if you want to jump on the bus and come on one of the final info sessions, you can find the list and dates and registrations on the website, which is roadtriptocollege.org. All right.